Hello students, in continuation with the digital education initiative of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, here is another lecture on subject VLSI technology having subject code KEC 053. I am your faculty Sangeeta Mangesh from Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, JSS Academy of Technical Education, Noida. Till now we have studied the introductory part of the ion implantation, then in the next lecture I gave you the idea about the ion implantation system as a whole, and we have seen the equations associated with them, that is straggle, then I like range, RP, how you calculate, then dosage, beam current, all those equations we have seen in the last lecture. In today's lecture we are going to see the ion implantation related issues, that is what are the problems associated with ion implantation and the remedies to and how to control the damages involved during the ion implantation. Then we have to see one of the important aspect, that is annealing and how it is being carried out, what is exactly the process and how the furnaces are being like what are the nature of furnaces which are used for annealing. So, at the end of this lecture as a student I expect you to explain the issues associated with ion implantation, their remedial actions and whatever strategies are used while dealing with such issues. You should be able to comprehend the role of annealing in damage control. You should be also able to discuss with schematic how the annealing process is being carried out. So, what are the process issues? So, very first process issue is whenever we are carrying out the ion implantation, you also know that the charged ions or charged species are striking against the wafer. Now, whenever these charged species are striking against these wafers, there is a possibility that there is a recoil, there are some charge these charges are getting accumulated and they are when they are striking, they are imparting those charges onto the substrate. Now, these charges, these ions which are striking can effectively damage the surface and therefore, it is essential to neutralize them, and in order to neutralize them the ion implantation system must have a neutralizing what you call effective neutralization system, which is created either by plasma flooding or using electron showers, which will neutralize these ion beams which are damaging the overall substrate like surface of the substrate where they are striking. Another issue is the particle contamination. Since we are handling these wafers in batches, loading, unloading them and we are handling like exposing them to the dopant, then many times these particles which are getting like the wafers which are contaminating like particle contamination which is getting added onto the wafer, or like when the wafers are getting exposed to the contaminating particles, it is every possibility that there can be some damage and that can result into like you may have the incomplete dopant junction, you may have some lightly doped drain regions, like you have different area requirements when you are fabricating the devices. You have specific, like you need low current beam for clear, and you need very high density in case of my drain and source areas, whereas for a well I need like large like moderate concentration, but the beam current also is like you need strong beam current, or many times you need less like beam current of less intensity. So, depending upon those variations, when you are carrying out those variations in the beam current by the analyzer magnet, then there is possibility that there can be variation in that, and that can subsequently damage the, or that can subsequently contaminate the unwanted area, or unwanted dopant species may get included onto your substrate, and that can also hamper the overall reliability of the devices which are getting fabricated. So, you have to be very precise, very careful while handling or while carrying out the ion implantation system or ion implantation process as a whole. Then you have something known as elemental contamination also, because you can have co-implantation happening when you are like along with the intended dopant you may have some other dopant species because of the metal, like you have the metal holders which are holding the wafers. There are some other what you call metal particles as a part of your furnace fabrication, like whenever you are designing the furnace there can be some metal parts which are like a part of the system as a whole. So, those metal parts because of the heated like elevated temperature may get or may introduce some co-dopant or may introduce some contaminant like elemental contaminant, they can introduce some elemental contamination into the furnace and thereby the overall what you call wafers, the area where you are carrying out the implantation can also get affected. So, you do not want that to happen and therefore, you need to take lot of precaution while carrying out the ion implantation. So, this is first stage of like this is the first category of damage. Second category is whenever we are using the penetrating the like whenever the target ion beam is penetrating the target, the ion beam is very energized and it whenever that energized beam is striking, there are series of collisions which are which are happening displacing the atoms on along the way. So, whenever they are striking whatever is coming on the way they are striking and progressing further, they are imparting energy to those what you call crystal structures and therefore, the process of collision with both ions and dislodged target atoms can continue and cause further damage and spread the energy over many moving particles. The energy can get spread over multiple moving particles. If the target temperature is sufficiently high, if the target temperature is high, then the competing like the particular process competing process of self annealing can happen and repair automatically overall whatever ions like striking if the surface of or the bulk itself is at elevated temperature. So, naturally the you have seen in first lecture itself annealing is basically heating and slow cooling. So, automatically these what you call displaced ions will automatically get settled down and create or null like the effectivity will be nullified. Whatever damage or displacement of the particles has happened because of the collision will automatically get nullified, but it is not always the case. The temperature also depends upon the critical like what the way in which it is to be settled down depends upon what kind of critical amorphization dose is exhibited, that is how much displacement has taken place, irregularity of the crystal orientation has happened or how much penetration, how much dopant profile is being done and that is being studied over here. This is the critical dosage necessary to make continuous amorphous layer as a function of temperature. So, this is basically for different materials, it is basically phosphorus, boron. So, this is along with the temperature. So, you need whenever you are adding the dosage into the crystalline structure, the crystal orientation is changing and the amount of dosage, critical dosage required to change the profile or change the crystal orientation, amorphize the crystal structure is known as, we call it as critical dose, and this critical dose is varying with temperature and for different dosages also, like if you have boron it will change, for phosphorus it will change, for antimony it will change and that is how this is being shown. This is the graph which is showing you the temperature dependence to the critical dosage. Now, this damage, that is amorphization when is happening, it can affect the subsequent processing steps also. For example, that these point defects can influence diffusion which is already existing in silicon. The damaged oxide layers which are there, they also get etched faster than the undisturbed like proper this one. If it is affected oxide, it will get etched away very fast as compared to the undisturbed oxide layer in some, because some of the bonds, oxide bonds are already broken. So, naturally it will get etched away very easily. The dangling oxide bonds also they can also act as the electron trap and in the finished devices. So, if your device is already designed, so these oxide dangling bonds which are available, they can also act as the electron traps and then organic chains in the photoresist film can be broken down into a carbon rich material which which will be very difficult to again remove, because once the material becomes carbon rich, it will be very difficult to then etch away. So, photoresist can become harder and then subsequently it will hamper the overall dimensions of the wafer also, and it will devices also, and it will hamper the other process parameters also. So, therefore, you have to take care of the striking energy as well as the penetration depth, as we have seen in the with the equation what we have seen in the previous lecture. Then one of the feature what we need to take care of is the channeling. You have to ensure that the channeling is at a proper angle, so that the penetration depth can also be controlled. The ions, when they are moving inside in the crystalline material, they are moving along the open spaces along with which the ion can travel without disruption. There is no disruption. They will, suppose this is the crystal orientation. So, they will automatically travel, okay, wherever there is space they will keep on moving along. So, they will have a channel through which they can keep on moving. The ions can be steered down these open spaces, they can move freely into this particular open channels, and they will not have any collisions. So, naturally they will that will be for the target, if you want the junction depth to be xj, since there is already channel already available. So, xj plus delta xj, it may get into deeper than the desired profile, it may get deeper into the bulk, because it has got open space to move within the substrate. So, this has to be very carefully dealt with, and therefore, you need to and at least until it is damaged by the implant, silicon is a crystalline material and channeling can produce unexpected and deeper profiles. So, please remember, unless at least until it is damaged by the implant. We have seen in the previous case, this is the critical. So, critical means till the time temperature, it is creating crystalline material into amorphous. So, you do not want that to happen. So, unless and until it is damaged, the crystalline material, silicon is a crystalline material. Once you start inserting dosage and damaging the crystal structure, then it will get converted into amorphous, and then it will So, till then it is a crystalline material. So, channeling, when you are when there are channels available, the whatever implant depths you want, much higher implantation depth can be attained if you have these kind of, see this is the basically channeling. So, channeling decreases high dose implants, this is the green curve, just see, because the damage, what happens is the damages which are there because of the channeling can block further penetration of the implant. So, you can have different impacts which have been seen. This is the normal dosage, see 2 raised to the power 13, this is 2 raised to the power 15. So, just see, for 2 raised to this is the 2 raised to the power 15 profile, this is the 2 raised to the power 13 profile, and how the changes, just see, channeling has changed this, but the range in which the channeling can decrease in the high dose implant. This is the green curve, just see, because the damage, there are so many atoms striking, the dosage is so high that the channeling has there is no path for that, and therefore, your profile is totally altered. Just see, the profile is, this is the green where the profile is totally altered from the desired direction, and it has decreased the dose high dose implant, it has not gone deeper into it, it has changed. See, this is the alteration what we have seen. So, this is what is effective thing what we have seen. Here also same thing is being depicted. You have direct moving atom or ion, you can say, in case A. Second B, here it has suffered a directional channeling, and because of that it has moved, rather than moving straight, it has moved only in this direction. The third one is, see, so far it was going straight, here it has it has it has collision, it has collided with this atom, it has further moved away from it, further it has moved here, here it has against had collision with the second particle crystal structure or crystal atom, and further it has deviated to this direction. So, basically how the collisions are happening, how the crystal structure is, whether it is going to get channeled through that space which is available within the crystal structure, the diffusion or the implantation profile will get altered, and when such kind of collision will give its when the channeling is happening because of these multiple collisions or recoils we call them, the overall Gaussian profile will automatically develop a channeling tail. The impact what is being created is known as a channeling tail. So, these are the three typical examples which are seen where through cubic lattice showing channeling and non-channeled cases. This is the channeled case and non-channeled case. The second one is backscattered. Whenever it is backscattered, see here it is backscattered. So, naturally it is changing the direction and the beam is aligned, and therefore, you may have changes in the yield, alteration in the yield. The effect of channeling is now here. The third is effect of channeling, which has added extra depth to the or extra profile to it, and that is leading to tail channeling we call it. This is the Gaussian profile normal. This is the normal Gaussian profile, but here because of the backscattering, because of the channeling what it has resulted into this collision back, you have effective. So, this effective channeling because of the collision has added a tail to the diffusion profile. Now, how do you define this? Channeling is characterized by the critical angle sigma 1 or psi 1 we can call it as, and which is the maximum angle between ion and the channel for glancing collision to occur. Neglecting the thermal effects, we express this channeling angle psi 1 as 9.73 Z1 Z2 divided by E into D raised to the power or under root E raised to you have under root Z1 Z2 divided by ED 9.73. This is what is the equation, where E is the ion energy, D is the atomic spacing and Z1 Z2 is the number we have already seen atom number. So, the equation basically reveals that the channeling is more likely for heavier ions, that is higher Z, than for lower energy ions. That means, when you are having high energy particles striking, there is more tendency to have channeling happening into the what you call ion implantation profile rather than those which are striking with low energy. In order to deal with this particular hazardous effect of channeling, the wafer is generally, what is the remedy? The wafer is generally tilted at 7 degree to avoid major planes. So, crystalline planes are to be avoided, and therefore, the wafer is kept at an angle for basically at 7 degree. At first, it might be seen that the channeling provides very easy means for placing ion deep inside the, initially it was found that these channeling can give you very deeper profiles, but it is not always viable. So, and when you are having channeling, there will be minimum damage to the crystal lattice, but always you do not want that to happen, you do not want the deeper penetration or deeper what you call junction depths, and therefore, channeling is not always favorable. Unfortunately, this deeper penetration, since it is not required, we do not want channeling to happen every time. Also, the channeling is like the channeling or penetration is so sensitive that every 1 degree tilt in the wafer, the beam will diverge, beam will diverge, that is the beam that is striking will diverge, and the ions are scattered by the amorphous surface, and the residual damage from the previous processing step will totally change. So, this is what is being shown in the next graph. Please see, for every 1 degree tilt modification. So, here it is 0.5 degree, here it is 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 5 degree. For every 1 degree tilt electrically, please understand the electrically active arsenic distribution as a function of beam angle. So, this is shown in case of arsenic. Every 1 degree tilt in 111 wafer, you will see that this is the original curve or this is the Gaussian profile which is expected. But with every 1 degree tilt in the wafer, you will find there is a change in the profile what you obtain, because the beam energy, the number of scattered ions will alter, and thereby there will be effective channelization, and you will have a tail getting produced in the Gaussian profile, and therefore, you will find at 1 degree, just see here you will find that at the minimum degree, this is the minimum profile, most closest profile you will find, and as you go, this is, see here it is shown that this is the profile which is random equivalent Gaussian profile. As you go away, just see this is 111 profile, this is plus 0.5, this is 1 degree, this is 2 degree, and every degree change you will have change in the profile. So, it is very sensitive to the angle at which the beam is striking. Second is the amorphization. I told you the beam is getting converted, and how this with every dosage value changing, how the amorphization is becoming significant is being shown over here. It is with for every high dose the crystal become amorphous and loses the long range order. At this point, the arrangement of the lattice atom is random and the damage accumulation has reached to its saturation level, and this is how at 1 E15, 1.5 E15, 2 E15, just see the level at which the amorphization is happening. At 1 E16, the range order is only 0.2, this is the range order where it is only existing up to 0.2 micrometer. Beyond that, you will have all the irregular crystal patterns and totally damage in the crystal orientations happening. Now, if the substrate is amorphous, it can be regrown by solid phase epitaxy. So, how to overcome this damage? Once the surface is amorphous, you need to regrow it. If you want to replicate it, you know already it can be replication of the surface is done by the epitaxy, and therefore, this amorphous substrate is again grown by solid phase epitaxy region. All damages are repaired and the dopants are activated onto the substantial sites, and you can recover or get overcome this particular damage by regrowing the surface. So, range order can be replicated and you can have regrown of the surface, and this is how, this is the implanted profile. Just see, this is the maximum damage where the profile this one, and you will regrow the surface. This is the solid phase epitaxial growth process which has happened. This was the okay. So, automatically the range ordered will be maintained, you are replicating the same. So, once you replicate the same, if you are maintaining the same order, naturally your structural what you call uniformity will be maintained and the damage control can be subsequently managed. So, this is what is being done. So, damage beyond the interface is stable, secondary defects cause transient, and this is basically what do you do whenever there is excessive dopant, like when you are adding excess dopant and when you carry out like amorphization has happened to the crystal structure, what we do is we carry out the solid phase epitaxy to regenerate or regrow the crystal surface, so that the replication is formed, regular geometric patterns or regular crystal structures of those what you call amorphized oriented crystals will be automatically regrown and your crystal regularity will be maintained. So, for this you need to activate, like when the substrate is amorphous, provide this particular method, what like solid phase epitaxy is very good method that gives the repairing, but then you need to activate the dopant species also, so that the profile is properly maintained. At lower implant dosage, it is very much complex, but stable defects are like it is at lower implant doses, activation is much more complex, because the what you call the stable defects are formed, like whatever defects are formed, they are stable in nature. So, they are having very less energy they are having. If it is a high energy, you can activate it and dislodge them very easily, but for low energy what you call defects, it is very difficult. So, you need to take extra precaution and try to stop them, and therefore, you need to go for prime annealing. Now, what is this annealing? Annealing is the process which is basically used to repair the crystal whatever damaged substrate is, and therefore, you basically it is carried out the temperature is elevated, and then the system is like you are slowly cooling it. When you carry out like such kind of method, you activate, the process involves imparting the activation energy of around 5 electron volt, while minimum dopant while minimizing the dopant diffusion, which typically has activation energy between 3 to 4 electron volt. Because of these energy differences, at sufficient high temperature, the repair is faster than the diffusion. The drawback of this method is high temperature, and it can control the damage, but practical steps required to insert and remove the wafer without stressing may lead to high temperature, you are elevating the temperature, it can damage something else, and unnecessary can result into unnecessary diffusion. So, whenever you are elevating the temperature. So, there are other methods, like you have in annealing also. There are two methods, one is known as furnace annealing, another is known as rapid thermal annealing. And what is the difference between them? This is basically rapid thermal annealing, which is exactly done at for very short duration. You will elevate the temperature and then allow it to slowly cool down, and this is basically done in a typical chamber. These are the figures which are showing you the impact of rapid thermal annealing versus furnace annealing. Furnace annealing is making you the wafers are kept in batches, and they are kept very large, you have a furnace where the temperature is elevated and then the process is slowly they are cooled. So, there are pros and cons of every processes, but then earlier we were using this particular furnace cooling furnace annealing method, but RTA is the improved version of it. So, this RTA allows the wafer damage control in a generic term, incorporating, you have several methods of heating there are several methods to heat the what you call wafers, which have already gone through ion implantation, and to control the damage which has incurred because of the ion implantation, we need to settle down those active species, and therefore we are going ahead with the annealing. But then annealing in furnace has got its own plus minus points, annealing in through rapid thermal annealing has plus minus points. So, let us see what are those. In case of rapid thermal annealing, this is the chamber where you are using isothermal annealing process. You have tungsten halogen lamps where the lamps are heating the wafers from both the sides. The wafer temperature is around 1200 degree centigrade, and the ramp up rate is very only 150 degree centigrade per second. And therefore, since the ramp up rate is good enough, it will be rapidly elevating the temperature, and then it will be cooled down very slowly. The effective results will be much better as compared to your thermal furnace annealing. These are the effective results. Whereas, in case of furnace, you have the wafer, you have the cooling, you have the wafer handling mechanism, elevator tube. Here you are having 3-dimensional zones which is heating the temperature. You have temperature measurement and control system. You have completely computerized system which is handling, but then there are possibilities of contamination, then unwanted diffusion, and the system is also not as sophisticated as the rapid thermal annealing. You cannot have this rapid increase, the rate at which the temperature elevation can happen cannot be this fast. Temperature elevation or rate of temperature gradient cannot be attained in case of furnace annealing. Another is, while handling, you have again the wafers may come across the temperature gradient, which can in turn affect the dopant profiles. So, therefore, always the main thing is, since the profile what you obtain is much better in case of my rapid thermal thermal annealing, this is the most recommended method in case of my ion implantation damage control. So, this is the furnace where we are using tungsten halogen lamps, both sides heating is possible. Main advantage of this system is the temperature gradient or rate at which the temperature can be elevated is much better as compared to your furnace, because there are more controls involved in my furnace. So, furnace handling is much difficult as compared to rapid thermal annealing. So, in this lecture we have seen damage control by what you call as initially we have seen there is the impact of wafer damage because of the contamination. Then we have seen the channeling impact. Then we have seen how the channeling can create tails in the Gaussian profiles of the what you call normal diffusion profiles, which are indicated by Gaussian curve. They can develop tails, and normal profiles can get deviated, especially in case of high dosage the amorphization can happen. And then we have also seen to control how amorphization can be controlled using solid phase epitaxy, and finally, we have seen how rapid thermal annealing system works. There are two systems, one is furnace annealing and another is rapid thermal annealing system, and how the profile can be better controlled in my rapid thermal annealing system, because the elevation or the temperature gradient can be like elevation can be done at much faster rate, and controlling temperature and handling contamination possibility is much less, and therefore, RTA is supposed to be the most sophisticated and better system for controlling. So, if you are thorough with this, you should be, what I expect at the end of this lecture is you should be able to describe all the damages and the effective remedies for them. Then you should be able to explain the RTA system, and once you are clear with this, in the previous lecture you have seen dosage control, ion beam energy and other equations. You have seen the instrumentation system, and now you have studied what are the damage control mechanisms and how annealing is basically carried out to effectively control or effectively make best out of this ion implantation system. Once this is clear, we will go for the next process step, that is metallization. Good luck and God bless.